Today, we journey to one of history's greatest and most opulent empires, Mughal India. From the 16th to the 17th centuries, the powerful Mughal courts, known for their grandeur and political intrigue, relied on a group whose immense influence has been all but silenced by history. We're talking about the eunuch and Hijra courtiers. These individuals, like figures such as Merunisa and Mahbuba, held real political influence over succession disputes and cultural patronage within the palaces, serving critical roles in palace security, ceremony, and confidential diplomacy. Yet, later British and Indian histories systematically erased their contributions, often recasting them as mere court caricatures. In this episode, Hijra Heroes of Mughal India, the queer guardians of the empire, we will uncover a queer community's political power at the heart of an empire. This is a story that deeply resonates today, as we explore non-binary and transgender histories, offering both historical depth and modern relevance to contemporary debates about gender expression. We will challenge conventional narratives and bring to light the social status and legal position of Hijras, under emperors like Akbar and Jahāngīr. Join us as we explore the untold story of these extraordinary figures, correcting a historical oversight and celebrating the overlooked contributions of those who truly were the almost famous heroes of Mughal India.
In the glittering courts of the Mughal Empire, a powerful and diverse community of gender non-conforming individuals, often referred to as eunuchs and later as hijras, operated behind the scenes, whose influence profoundly shaped history. These were not marginal figures. These people were integral to the imperial fabric, mediating access and intimacy within the royal world and serving as human border markers. The 16th to 17th centuries mark the zenith of Mughal power, an era defined by its elaborate courtly contexts and royal households. While much of Mughal historiography has focused on the harem, we're delving deeper into the broader, formative function of enslaved, castrated men, known as Khwaja Saras, and the wider Hijra community, in shaping both courtly life and the dynamics within the inner palace. These figures were not just guards of the harem, they were instrumental in establishing and maintaining mobile, calibrated boundaries around and between elite men, within built environments like palace forts, as well as on the road. Their unique and intimate positions often embroiled them in complex political conflicts, underscoring their significant, albeit sometimes precarious, influence. In the South Asian context, the term eunuch has been used broadly, a legacy of colonial-era translation that grouped diverse social categories under a single term. We're focusing on enslaved, castrated men known as Khwaja Saras, who were a highly visible aspect of Mughal society and attested to in contemporary sources. They were typically enslaved as children and castrated before puberty, often originating from borderlands due to Mughal bans on castration within imperial territories. Their unique physical characteristics, such as lack of facial hair and high-pitched voices, visibly marked them as distinct. Crucially, their inability to reproduce and relative social marginality were believed to be the basis for their particular reliability and trustworthiness, making them ideal for sensitive posts. Mughal sources categorize these Khwaja Saras as men, albeit with a different or inferior manhood. However, the term eunuch was often used by the British to describe the Hijra community, an umbrella term for people who are intersex, transgender, and/or eunuchs, and who typically present as feminine third-gender individuals. In the Mughal period, the Hijra community held high positions as political advisors, administrators, generals, and even guardians of harems and holy places. They were considered clever, trustworthy, and fiercely loyal, often having free access to all spaces and influencing state decisions. Importantly, present-day Hijra communities regard Mughal eunuchs as their ancestors, inheriting a unique spiritual power and the right to confer blessings such as fertility. Eunuchs played a fundamental role in producing space through embodied practice, both in the inner palace and in formal public arenas. They were stationed in proximate positions close to the emperor and around the more restricted parts of the palace, serving during mealtimes, presenting jewels, holding fans, and accompanying the emperor on his external viewing balcony, or jarakar. During Aurangzeb's reign, eunuchs were key in receiving petitions directly from the oppressed Mazluman during his public appearances, embodying the separateness and inviolability of the sovereign's space. Beyond these daily functions, eunuchs were crucial in palace security and as confidential intermediaries. The account of Mahābat Khān's coup against Emperor Jahāngīr in 1626 illustrates their importance. Eunuchs stood guard at the threshold of the privy chamber, and even in a moment of dramatic departure from courtly norms, Mahābat Khān did not fully breach this highly restricted zone, indicating the tenacity of the spatial regime they enforced. Eunuchs were also explicitly deployed by emperors as jailers and prison guards for troublesome royal family members. For instance, Prince Khusrau was imprisoned and placed in the charge of Emperor Khan in 1607. During Aurangzeb's extended reign, eunuchs gained particular prominence in managing recalcitrant princes, overseeing their possessions and controlling their access to various items, as seen when a eunuch was sent to confiscate Shah Jahan's jewels or used to test the loyalty of Prince Muazzam. These roles, even if superficially routine, made eunuchs points of interaction and potential contestation.
Furthermore, they acted as spies or informants, especially in the later years of Aurangzeb's rule, when financial pressures led to increased imperial surveillance over princely households. Their intimate service could entail danger, as they were often placed directly in the middle of conflicts between elite figures, facing bodily risk, like the eunuch Nawad, who was tortured for information on Prince Muazzam. Eunuchs were more than just functionaries. They were a significant element of imperial iconography and grand courtly display culture. In paintings of audience scenes, eunuchs were regularly depicted in privileged locations, often behind or slightly below the emperor, acting as an embodied extension of imperial space and reinforcing the architectural distinction between imperial space and that occupied by nobles. This presence was a visual tool to articulate and naturalize social hierarchies and dynastic legitimacy. Beyond their symbolic roles, many eunuchs achieved high rank and influence within the Mughal nobility, leaving significant archival traces. For instance, Itimad Khan, an eunuch officer in Akbar's court, held a very important charge in administering state finances and became a sovereign confidant. The historian Bakhtawa Khan, a eunuch slave of Aurangzeb, authored several extant works demonstrating their intellectual contributions and access to imperial knowledge. Their proximity and intimate access to the ruler's person allowed them to develop relations of trust, opening new avenues to influence and power. While historical Khwaja Saras in the Mughal context were generally perceived as men who were castrated, the broader spectrum of gender non-conforming individuals, including the Hijras, held unique social positions that granted them significant influence. Empress Mehrunissa, famously known as Nur Jahan, stands as a testament to the power women could wield within the Mughal court during Emperor Jahāngīr's reign. She was the first woman to publicly appear beside Jahāngīr on the Jaroka balcony, a groundbreaking moment that emphasized her prominence and influence within the empire. Her rise, her strategic alliances, and her determination to protect her position amidst court intrigues highlight the complex power dynamics she navigated, embodying resilience in a patriarchal society. Beyond the royal family, prominent eunuchs such as Emperor Khan served as deeply trusted figures, even being entrusted with the care of royal prisoners like Prince Khusrau.
Mahābat Khān, a eunuch in Aurangzeb's service, was not only a high-ranking noble, but also a prolific historian, demonstrating the intellectual and administrative contributions of these figures. These examples highlight that some eunuchs were not merely functionaries, but formidable individuals who attained high status, wealth, and exerted considerable influence within the Mughal Empire. The high status enjoyed by eunuchs and Hijras in the Mughal Empire faced a stark reversal with the advent of British colonial rule. Driven by Victorian morality, which espoused rigid separate spheres for men and women, the British found gender nonconformity incomprehensible and threatening. They simplified a rich array of South Asian gender identities, including those of the Hijra community, under the single, often incorrect and offensive, umbrella term eunuch. This misunderstanding fueled an aggressive campaign of criminalization. Laws like Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code of 1861 condemned homosexuality, while the Criminal Tribes Act of 1871 explicitly criminalized the Hijra way of life, labeling them as criminal and obscene. The British even established registers of eunuchs, with the explicit goal of achieving the gradual extinction of the Hijra community, meticulously tracking deaths and attempting to prevent castrations and initiations. This colonial project, sometimes supported by segments of middle-class Indian society, aimed to erase their historical significance and forcibly redefine their social roles. It is crucial to understand that homophobia and transphobia in South Asia are in large part colonial imports, a departure from indigenous histories of acceptance and even veneration. Despite this concerted colonial effort at elimination, the Hijra community remarkably survived and continues to thrive. In modern India, after decades of fighting marginalization, there has been a significant shift towards recognition. In 2014, the Supreme Court of India legally recognized the transgender community as a third gender, granting them access to equal opportunities. The decriminalization of consensual same-sex conduct in 2018 further marked a step forward. While challenges persist, including ongoing debates over appropriate terminology and the need for self-identification to be officially acknowledged without bureaucratic hurdles, the continuity of Mughal-era queer traditions profoundly resonates in present-day non-binary and transgender movements across South Asia. The work of organizations like Adhikar Aotearoa highlights the critical importance of reclaiming these histories of acceptance and actively challenging the colonial narratives of hate and criminalization that were imposed. This profound historical journey underscores that gender diversity is not a modern construct, but a deeply rooted aspect of South Asian heritage, demonstrating the enduring legacy of these queer guardians and their ongoing impact. The enduring presence and multifaceted influence of eunuchs and Hijras throughout Mughal history serve as a powerful reminder that gender diversity is not a new phenomenon, but a deeply rooted and integral aspect of South Asian heritage. These queer guardians profoundly shaped political power, courtly life and social structures, challenging conventional norms and exerting undeniable influence. Their story is one of remarkable resilience, adaptability, and undeniable historical impact. By understanding and valuing these often overlooked figures, we reclaim a richer, more inclusive history of the Mughal Empire, and indeed of South Asia itself.
That brings us to the end of another journey into the untold chapters of history. We hope this episode has sparked your intellectual curiosity and your desire to see justice done, correcting historical oversights. Our mission here at Almost Famous is to shed light on those lost heroes and forgotten legends whose immense contributions were, for too long, lost to time. If you're as fascinated by these stories as we are, Please subscribe to the Almost Famous Lost Heroes and Forgotten Legends podcast, wherever you're listening. Your subscription helps us unearth more of these crucial narratives and ensures they get the recognition they deserve. We want to hear from you. What almost famous figure do you think deserves more recognition? Leave a comment, a review, or join the conversation and suggest future topics on our main YouTube channel, Almost Famous Lost Heroes and Forgotten Legends, helping us continue this vital work. Join us next time as we delve into another forgotten tale of unknown scientists, lost explorers, overlooked artists, or inventors on Almost Famous. Because remarkable people exist in every era, sometimes they just need someone to tell their story properly. Until then, keep exploring.